Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Broads. We are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Today, we are going to talk some Phillies baseball, and I know that over the last handful of games or so, I've been quiet on the Phillies content, so here's an update. The team is boring me. You don't have star players playing. Zach Wheeler with the fingernail issue. Rhys Hoskins, he might need surgery. JT Realmuto with the hip. It's been a big-time problem, and I just feel the buzz is just not there. During that Miami Marlins series, you had a team that played lifeless, no heart. It was boring. And maybe it has something to do with the Eagles being the conversation and coming back and NFL football really taking over the sports headlines. Now, I'm not giving up on the Phillies, but I sense this is the direction that they're going. They're going to back in to the playoffs or be that last team that is right out, that first team out of the playoffs, but they're just going to back their way into this backstretch of the season, and it's not very entertaining. There's no juice happening with the Phillies. Last night, they beat the Mets. Jake Arrieta's on the bump. Well, he gets injured. And he said in the postgame that it felt like he got shot. He kept saying it felt like he got shot. That's what it felt like. But he doesn't think it'll be long term. Come on, Jake. We know where you're at your career. We've seen you pitch in this Phillies uniform. Sadly, you're probably toast. You're probably not coming back. And I just feel as if with this squad right now, we all know that you can't do a damn thing with that bullpen. Joe Girardi last night, in the win against the Mets, he didn't go to Hembree. He didn't go to Workman. He didn't go to Phelps. He didn't go to Hale. All the acquisitions that Matt Klentak got at the trade deadline not even being utilized down the stretch in big moments out of the pen. That should be telling you something. Jojo Romero, Tommy Hunter, Hector Neris seals the deal. It's a problem that this bullpen flat out sucks. And I know this isn't breaking news. We knew this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that you couldn't win with this bullpen. But when you add no Rhys and you add no JT, it's not as fun to watch this lineup with Kyle Garlick in the mix. And oh, by the way, now he's injured too. There's so many people dropping like flies. Even when the pen was trash, which was all season long except for that stretch they went on where they won 10 of 11. And to be fair, they were actually bad then as well. The offense just scored an obnoxious amount of runs. But you at least got to watch an awesome lineup. Andrew McCutchen, Rhys was murdering the ball. Bryce Harper, JT, Didi, Segura Bohm. Now it just doesn't have that anymore. And if Rhys needs surgery, it's a big-time issue. And I even heard possibly Tommy Johns. And if it's Tommy Johns, that's brutal. That's going to knock him out a serious length of time. Now, Alec Boehm seemed to do a tremendous job defensively at first base. He looks way better at first than he does at third. There's no denying that at all. I can't stand him playing third base. But I can get behind him playing first. It looks like you have your fix there. But it's at the point where Marshawn gets caught up. What are we doing? What are we doing? How am I supposed to put my feet up and enjoy that? I truly believe that Matt Klentak called up the Marlins, maybe called up Derek Jeter, and said, I will pay you. I will pay you to make Sixto Sanchez pitch at 1 o'clock on Sunday. He was originally going to pitch at 4 o'clock, the second game of the doubleheader. Not that anyone would really even care if it was the first or second game on Sunday because the Eagles took all of the storylines away, which deservedly so when you lose a 17-0 lead to the Washington football team and lose 27-17. But I swear to you, Matt Klentak had an agenda to make sure that Sixto pitches against the Phillies at 1 o'clock so no one would see. And guess what? He had a shutout in a complete game in a 7-inning game. He only allowed 1 run, and he was stellar. Barely any hard contact. Of course, Bohm was the one that had a good rip on him. It was his worst game, I would say, as a professional. And he threw 7 innings, a complete game, and he allowed 1 run. And it wasn't even his best stuff. At one point, I watched him throw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball in the 7th inning. In the 7th inning. This is going to be miserable. The Mets getting JT. It's going to happen. The Phillies watching Sixto pitch in a Marlins uniform. Here's what blows my mind. I know prospects are just prospects. But when you have one like Sixto Sanchez, I can't comprehend why he is the one. He is the one that gets lost in the sauce and he gets moved. Do you need to give to get when it comes to getting someone like JT Realmuto? Obviously. I can comprehend that. I can acknowledge that. But Pedro Martinez 2.0, I'm sorry. You just can't. You got to know better. You need to assess talent better and realize this guy is going to be a stud. But I guess when you're wrong so many times, maybe you have to go against your gut. When you're wrong 30 times on prospects, maybe you just feel you don't believe in yourself anymore, where you question your own decisions. And then you make a move like this, and you get rid of a guy who's going to dominate this league. That's how I feel about Sixto. I'm not overreacting. I'm not blowing this out of proportion. The kid is a legit psychopath on the mound, and I say that in a great way. Pedro's tweeting at him, saying this guy's got more stuff than I did. He's going to be unbelievable. And with this JT thing, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get so ugly. I hope they don't make the playoffs because they need change. I know that sounds silly, and I'm normally against that mindset. I'm normally against the team doing well for a longer-term benefit, if you will, because obviously making the playoffs is way more important. But if you're going to make, in this scenario, with a larger playoff bracket, if you're going to make the playoffs with a team like this, right now they're 24-23 with the worst bullpen my eyes have ever seen, and they're going through billions of injuries. They don't deserve making the playoffs. It would be different if it was a normal year with playoffs and it wasn't an expanded format, and I thought they deserved to maybe get in. I would want them to get in. They don't deserve it at all. Not even a little bit do they deserve to play playoff baseball. And Matt Klentak should not have a job. I want change. Andy McPhail. If we don't, we don't. Come on, man. What the hell is wrong with that? The hell is wrong with you? How do you possibly utter those words to the Philadelphia public? It's an embarrassment. It's a fireball offense, if you ask me. So no Spencer Howard, no Jake Arrieta. It looks like Wheeler's going to pitch on Wednesday against the Mets, hopefully. But you're out, Reese. You're out these guys. I watch the games, but they seem lifeless. It seems boring. The juice I once had, it's starting to fade away. They go 2-5 in a 7-game series against the Marlins. A much-needed win. Series win. What is up with this? When it comes to the mental side of the game against the Marlins. What the hell is wrong with them? The Marlins this year, they have confidence, sure. They're not as bad as they were a couple years ago, and if they look up and coming, I understand. Come on, Phillies. You're better than that. But towards the end, you're depleted. It's just disappointing because I knew where I once was. I knew where I once was with this team with the juice and the fist pumping and the screaming. And I would still be that way if they were playing well and they weren't so injured, and I can look forward to an actual type of playoff series. It has nothing to do with the Eagles. I mean, I do think there's something to be said about the Eagles being back, but if the Eagles were back and the Phillies were good, I would be foaming out the mouth for a 7 o'clock game against the Mets. Now, I see them playing a 7 o'clock game against the Mets, and it's like, all right, I'll have them on the second TV. I'm not going to fake the way I feel. This is how I feel right now. And I do find it funny that I got a lot of comments, a lot of Twitter DMs. Broads, come on, man. After they lose 3, you're just done? I've been doing this for how many years with the Phils? Let's say in a normal season of 162, I get about 150 post-game shows up, which I feel is realistic. That's a lot of losses for a lot of seasons. It's not just because they're losing games that I'm not just down here super stoked to record. I record after wins, losses, ties. That doesn't even make sense. No such thing. But I'm down here ranting or pissed off, frustrated after losses all the time. It has nothing to do with them losing 3 games and, hey, because they lost, I'm not going to get on there and talk. There is something to be said about the energy surrounding this team right now. And it almost feels as if, whether it's right or wrong, they're going down the same September-type stretch that we are accustomed to under Gabe Kapler. And I wonder with Joe Girardi if that changes anyone's opinion. Now, this time, I would say the injuries are way more serious and they're intensified than ever before. And that results in wins and losses, no doubt. Reese has been murdering the baseball, crushing home runs left and right, being a difference maker in the outcome. And JT, we know what he can provide behind the plate. And it did seem like he was turning the corner a bit, finding himself a little offensively. There's no doubt that is the difference in winning and losing games when you have Knapp and you have Marchand out there. I always just think of Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins every time I see that name. Spelled differently. But when I hear it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, Brad Marchand behind the plate, behind the dish. Once you're getting to that level, it's like, who? Although it looked like they were making some moves. Greg Bird, Luke Roy. Is that the difference, though? Probably not. There's a reason why those players were there and available. It's a weird spot for this team to be in. It really is. And when you look at this bullpen of Phelps, blows my mind. In what world? In what world is Phelps this miserable? He's not this miserable. Statistically, throughout his career, he is way better than this. Yet you put on a Phillies uniform and you lose everything you possibly have. You just become a dumpster fire of a player. Why does this continue to happen? If you're a bullpen piece that can be better, once you put on the Phillies uniform, you lose everything. Why does this keep happening to this team? Is it a mentality? Is it something that they're taught? Is it just the energy? I'm sensing, though, that this team is just losing it. And when you look at who has to pitch in the upcoming games, Zach Eflin. How do you feel about Zach Eflin? You don't know what you're going to get out of Zach Eflin. Bullpen games are in the mix. Although they had the bullpen game against Sixto Sanchez in the Marlins series, and they only allowed 2 runs. The offense went dry. And you want to talk about the offense getting dry. Yo, Bryce, I've been on you for a long time now. He deserves to get destroyed. I made a hot claim the other day after they actually won a game against the Marlins. I said, look, when Bryce goes yard, when Bryce goes opposite field, I feel confident. I feel confident that that's him getting out of the slump. I don't need to worry. He gets a double in the 9th inning in a loss, and then he follows that up with a couple nice hits, a home run. Okay, Bryce is back. Okay, I know that Bryce is going to find his rhythm from here. And he went right back into the shell. It's a big-time issue from Bryce Harper. I expect way more, and I demand way more out of him. Because I know he can be way better than this. This is tough. This is one of the worst stretches of his entire career. And I just don't know if he's getting enough slander for it. Whether that's because people are dying out on the Phillies. I guess I can't blame them because a little bit of me is doing the same. Or if it's because the bullpen's so bad and the pitching's so bad. And there's other reasons this team is a trash bag right now. So with that being said, Bryce slides under the radar. But I find it so hard to believe that someone like Bryce Harper is actually sliding under the radar. He should be the first one on everyone's mind when it comes to this team. Now, is the bigger issue the bullpen? Yes, no doubt about it. Because if they had a better bullpen, if they had better pieces in there, you probably aren't losing as many games. Still, though, I don't think that should take away from the conversation surrounding Bryce Harper. Very underwhelming. If this is how he finishes this season, if the Phillies back into the postseason as a last wild card team and they do find a way to get it done, am I supposed to sit here with Bryce Harper having the year that he had and go, I'll take that out of Bryce? Hell no! Even with that dominating stretch that he had. Hell no! Last year, I could live with last year's performance. Knocking in a bunch of RBIs. Maybe not as many homers as I thought he would. And he did go through an ugly stretch. Not this ugly, but he did go through some sort of ugly stretch. But that's who he is. That's his makeup. That's his DNA as a player. Extreme highs, extreme lows, extreme highs, extreme lows. But this is super, super extreme low. So I can live with what he provided last year. This year, though, it's only a 60-game season, so it's different. But because it's a 60-game season, I need to assess it differently. You needed to put this team on your back and help carry them. And instead, they're this team that you see all the time. This 500-ish team that isn't good enough. He needs to be better. Way better. Is it starting to toll on him body language-wise? Do you sense it being different in terms of, running to second base, helmet flying off, hair flipping around? Yeah, maybe, but here's the problem. He's not getting on base or getting any hits to actually do it. So that's why it seems different. He'll get a walk. But dude, come on, man. Come on. It's irritating. It really is. Now, this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely by offering flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So make sure you check out their information. Their phone number and website is in the description. So, of course, I'm going to watch the rest of the season. And yes, I'm going to still talk about the Phillies. It's just the juice, that everyday juice, that must-watch 7:05 first pitch juice. It's getting watered down for me. The juice is getting watered down. It doesn't have as much oomph in my sips. I see the end of the road. I see they're not good enough. And the lineup, it's just not entertaining anymore. I liked Didi Gregorius getting the home run, of course, to give them the 4-1 lead, which was some breathing room. I like the fact that Scott Kingery has some pop lately. Had a homer, had a nice double. Look at Scott Kingery coming back and being effective. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that Scott Kingery would be an exciting piece after what happened to him all season long, starting with the COVID-19 stuff and then entering the season playing brutal baseball. Now, is there correlation between COVID-19 and poor baseball? I guess it's a possibility since we don't really understand the long-term effects of what COVID can do to your body, but he came out and he's been playing well since then. Adam Hazley, I thought this was a weird move by Joe Girardi. Garlick plays with Porcello on the bump. You have a righty that you would think Adam Hazley would be able to step in and start, right? You think he'd be able to step in and start and actually play. He goes with Garlick. What ends up happening? Bases juiced. pinch hit opportunity on Porcello. Joe Girardi puts Adam Hazley in. He ends up knocking in some runs and giving the Phillies a lead. But I bring that up because, dude, Joe, why didn't you just start him? Porcello a righty on the bump. And if you look through a previous start with Porcello and you see how Adam Hazley did, you might be able to look at some numbers and go, well, that's why. He didn't have a great performance against Porcello before. But then you're going to pinch hit for him? If you didn't believe in him, why would you pinch hit for him in that spot in the game? It doesn't make any sense, but it paid off because Adam Hazley had some good piece of hitting, knocked in some runs, and it's funny. As soon as that happened, Phillies took a couple-run lead, 2-0 lead, and Jake Arrieta instantly, boom, his next inning allows a bomb, and it's 2-1. But ultimately, we know how it finished. The Phillies did win. They're one game over 500. It's just an annoying baseball team to watch right now, and there are some big-time concerns. Will you even see JT Realmuto in a Phillies uniform again? I would really like to hope so, right? Rhys Hoskins could be out for a serious amount of time. And I mentioned that when that play happened, JT picked the ball up. He should have never threw the ball to first base, to be fair. This happened a couple games into the Marlins series. Rhys tries to catch the ball, and it looked like his wrist, his whole forearm, it snapped back, and he was shaking it, he was holding it. It looked very uncomfortable. He finished the game, but I mentioned that didn't look good. That looked like a problem. And hearing Tommy John, I don't know if that's specifically going to be what it is, but that's no good. Especially when Rhys was actually playing phenomenal baseball. He was actually seeing the ball beautifully. And just like that, it gets ripped away from you. I don't know if Didi's home runs are enough to lead this team and keep this team going. It might against the Mets, but come on. You tell me this team squeaks into the playoffs that they can do much if Bryce plays this way? If Andrew Knapp is your catcher? It's so disappointing because I knew that they weren't good enough at the end of the day. But there was still an energy, right? There was still an energy with this team. It was frustrating. The bullpen blew a lot of games. But there was still an energy around this team during that 9 of 10. Bryce Harper says, we need to go on a run of like 9 and 10. They go on that. They win even more. It feels like they just ripped it right out of my chest after that Marlins series. That Marlins series, we claimed it was the season. That was the season to an extent. And when you go 2 for 5, right? They go 2 and 5. I'm sorry, they went 2 for 7. They went 2 and 5 as their record in the 7-game series. In what universe? That is must win. That series is must win. And you got to throw bullpen games and doubleheaders, and you can't win 2 games in a day still? It's been 8 years, you still can't do it? Underwhelmed with Spencer Howard. Zach Eflin, abysmal performance in his last outing. The list goes on and on. They're just plummeting. Plummeting. Sure, they beat the Mets, and they might beat the Mets. I did claim that they're probably going to sweep the Mets and then try and suck everybody back in. That's what this team weirdly does. They fail, but then they sucker you back in with a 9 of 10. Then they fail, and then they sweep the Mets. And then they fail, and then they find a way to beat a good team like the Braves, maybe 2 of 3. Or they beat the Nationals, who stink. Can you tell I'm defeated? Can you tell I'm defeated with this team? Because I am. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.